Hello, guys. I'm here with Matt, agency owner, Amazon brand owner, Amazon expert, e commerce expert, Amazon and e commerce extraordinaire. This is Matt. I connected with him on LinkedIn. I own an agency. He owns an agency. I like the post he put on LinkedIn. So, I was like, you know what? Let's connect and let's chat. How are things, Matt?
Yeah, great. Thanks for that intro. I'm not sure I deserve such a prestigious intro, but thanks a lot.
No, definitely. I mean, how did you get into Amazon and selling on Amazon? Because you're one of the few
Yeah.
agencies that owns a brand and own the brand. Because most agency owners, as you know, they never really sold on Amazon. As crazy
Mm.
as that sounds.
Yeah. No, and actually I feel like for any Amazon like agency owner or anybody in the space that hasn't actually owned a brand, I really just do feel like they're missing out on
Oh yeah,
a ton, just a ton, that's of really important information. But how I got into it, so I was in a corporate job.
yeah,
So for most of my career, actually, I was in really big corporate jobs. I would go into, I was an analyst at McDonald's. I was the global head of reward for Guinness World Records and a group called the SSP Group.
wow,
And whilst I was at Guinness World Records, actually, I was doing nothing to do with Amazon, but they have a big Amazon presence. I started to kind of to learn a little bit about it and get a
yeah.
bit into it just through that business. I've always loved e-commerce. So I mean, I was the guy selling trainers on eBay when I was like 13 years old. So e-commerce like always been in my blood. So I knew I wanted to start a brand, and I knew I wanted a side hustle. And
Yeah.
I knew I didn't want to do the whole 9 to 5 thing forever. Like, I'm really just not a fan of trading time for money.
Mhm.
And I just didn't, even though I was really happy in that job, was working with great people, I just felt like I wanted something more. So I started a brand on the side, tiny brand. I mean, I invested £600. I
Wow.
mean, most people say that you can't start a brand that small. You can. The thing is, I was making like nothing. So I started with a pet food scoop. I mean, this is a tiny, tiny product. It
What
was
year is this?
doing genuinely, I was probably making like 100 quid a week in profit.
Okay. Oh,
Um,
pretty good. That's okay.
and yeah, and I was happy with that, and I learned with that for a while, and then I built it up and built it up to the point where I actually started investing some money. I got very lucky. Well, not lucky. Not the pandemic wasn't lucky for anyone, but it really picked up obviously
Yeah.
ecom at that time. So yeah, so I really started small. I didn't start out thinking I'm going to be rich or it's going to help me quit my job. I just really focused on learning, to be honest.
I think that's a great mentality. It's crazy how, I mean, when someone asks me how, because I'm sure you get this question all the time, how much do I need to start a brand on Amazon?
Mhm.
It's so difficult to
Yeah,
answer because what is your skill set? I mean, if you understand
yeah,
listing creation and ads, it's much cheaper because you can have that in house. But if you don't, you kind of have to have it. So it's very difficult to.
yeah,
It's true, and I've seen people. I mean, we've started with very little money our brand. I mean, similar to your story. But then I've also seen people starting with 20 grand and burn them. So I think it's really depending on skill set, product fit, market. Of course, years
mm,
ago, Amazon was different. But what I debate, and I'm curious to have your take on this, people say, okay, pandemic was a golden time, right? But what I've also seen is Amazon
yeah,
hasn't slowed down since the pandemic. Actually, it's better and bigger than what it used to be in the pandemic because everyone
yeah,
expected after the pandemic there'll be like a 20 to 50% drop. It never happened. Like it just kept on going up
yeah,
and going up and going up. And what I see now is
hmm
there's not as many sellers, meaning that yes, new sellers are coming, new brands are coming, but it's not as trendy as it used
yeah,
to be, which is a great thing for brands that are already there and brands that want to go there because there's really less
yeah.
competition, but a bigger marketplace. What do you think?
I think that it doesn't benefit anybody to look back with rose-tinted glasses and think you've missed the boat, right? I think with Amazon, like you said, it's continually growing.
Yeah,
I think, it's different, it's evolving, it's changing. It may be more difficult than it was in those days to, start a business, but with barriers to entry, I see that as a positive. The
agreed.
more barriers they put up and the more difficult it is, well, that's as soon as you achieve that or you overcome those barriers, you're in a better position because there's less competition, like you said. So I see Amazon as being different. It's evolved. It's definitely maturing as a platform.
Mhm.
It is harder to survive as someone that's created so many brands, but if you manage to get it right, then you can. And in terms of how much you need to invest, I mean, the question I ask when people ask me that is, well, how much do you want to make? You can invest £500 and have a
Yeah,
product that does £1,000 a month,
yeah,
and that's a good product and you can learn from that. I've actually, I've coached lots of people, just for free, friends of mine who want to start Amazon brands, and I always say start with a really small product like that pet food scoop.
Yes,
Do the whole thing and just learn it. Just you're going to make mistakes. Don't have the analysis paralysis. Just get it
exactly.
done. The pictures don't have to be perfect. Just get it done, and then you've got that knowledge. Then go back and maybe you do it a bit better next time.
I agree, and it's practical knowledge. I think that's the big difference because you can only learn so much from
Yeah,
YouTube unless you practice. I mean, I
yeah,
bet since you started your agency, your level of ads is much higher than it used to be, especially when you start working with more clients.
yeah,
It's really practice and see what works on the market. Because as you know, Amazon things change all the time. Exact match used to work much
yeah.
better a couple of years ago than it does now. Broad now seems to be doing better. So it always changes. That's why I think you always have to be kind of in the trenches and be in the market. And if you have your own brand, you have skin in the game. So you actually have your own money in the game. So I think it's very interesting from that part.
Mhm.
So you start your brand, and what happens with that brand? What happens with that business?
The pet brand still going today. So that tiny little brand, that product was the first product. It evolved. It evolved. I actually started that brand because I got a cat,
Yeah,
and me and my girlfriend said, "Wouldn't it be funny if we started a little pet brand and it just paid for the vet bills, the cat stuff?" And
smart.
then that was why it started. She's actually walking around now. So it's that brand's still going. I started another brand though. With that knowledge, I thought, right, I understand a bit more about branding, and I started another one, which is a
Yeah.
home. I mean, it was really we centered around bedding,
Okay.
and that one we went through Pan EU and into America,
Wow. Okay.
exited that brand, and then a third brand in the travel space, which I still run now. And then obviously the agency, it's a bit of a headache. The thing is though, when you have an agency, you have people to run your brands, so
Correct.
it
Yeah.
all kind of works together. But
Agreed.
I would say though, going back to what we said before, if for people in the space who haven't ever owned a brand, even for my ads team, I have an ads team that they're so experienced. They've worked with Dyson, Apple,
Wow.
whatever. Um, from people that haven't owned a brand, you are missing a big slice of it. I think as a brand owner, it really helps me as an agency owner because when we're spending people's money, I really do appreciate this. This is not just numbers on a. It's very easy when you're an ad person just to see numbers. This is real people's money, and all right, sometimes we're working with a big company, but other times someone has taken a huge risk like we did. They're working double jobs. They put their savings into something. They've really invested and it's worked out. And we have a responsibility to spend their money wisely and with good strategy. So I think that's where brand owner really helps, and understanding the logistics side of it and the forecasting side of it, which I think a lot of people miss as well.
Yeah, I agree 100% with that. And I do believe, as you said, so smaller brands, they kind of it's a tougher position for them because you can make less mistakes and they have a smaller budget.
Mm,
Bigger brands, I mean, sometimes they don't even check what they're doing. As crazy as that sounds, because that's for them, Amazon is such a smaller part of their business that for them is just a thing to have. And if it does well, great. If it doesn't do well, it doesn't make a difference. For smaller brands, they feel every
yeah.
impact. How long have you had the agency for?
So the agency has been running for about a year and a half now, but it's only really taken off this year. And when I say taken off, I mean we've started to work with really big brands, so mainly eight-figure brands now. What we do is a bit different from other agencies, and we work with some smaller brands, but we say it's like hiring an in-house team, right? So we work with companies who really need a strategy. So they normally work with me or an exec as their account manager. For example, we're working with a few companies that are in Waitrose, Tesco,
Yeah.
Sainsbury's now, like big companies. When they go to launch on Amazon, it's ad metrics are one part of it, but we also look at strategy, branding, consumer psychology, and we're available to them and at all times to help with everything. We get involved with logistics most of the time, labeling. So it's we see ourselves as basically like hiring an in-house team. They
Oh,
have us available to them cheaper than it would be to hire an
of
in-house
course.
team, obviously. So the agency's been going on for a few years, but it's really started to find its footing, and we've really started to have a real upwards trajectory this year.
Why do you reckon that is? Do you think it's because you've been longer in the game now and the word of mouth is coming, or what do you reckon that is?
Yeah, I think it's purely from doing a good job. Like we're all of our with so far with 100% referrals. So I've only just started getting on LinkedIn and stuff.
Mhm.
I'm really not a big fan of social media, but I have you know
Yeah,
you got to do it. Yeah, you got to do it. So really, we did a good job.
yeah,
They recommended to a friend. They came and it's really moved like that. We. Do you know what? I'm not going to moan about agencies because it's a great space, but you know, as
yeah,
a brand owner, you know, I have a real pet peeve of mine is that some of, and I won't name any names, some of the biggest agencies, their entire structure is based around taking in clients and just holding them for as long as possible
yeah,
and just trying to reduce churn
yeah,
rather than actually helping those businesses. It's more of just a cash flow business where as if you're actually looking at lifetime value and you're actually trying to help these clients,
yeah,
you know, it's a lot harder. So that's what we do. We put in a lot of work and we really work with them. We try and go the extra mile. We actually try and grow these businesses, and that pays dividends in the end. And I think that's why we're having a snowball effect. But just now we're looking out for more outreach and we're building a second pod. The thing about our structure is obviously there's a limit to how many clients you can take because this whole you know in-house team thing starts to fall apart if you have too many clients you're unable to give enough time and attention. And I actually think that that is a big part of it. You know, we make sure that we have enough time and attention to actually grow these businesses
yeah,
because we're actually hardly using AI, and we're using software, but we're more into rule-based systems
yeah.
than actually automation. We
Uh-huh.
do a lot. We have meetings every day about businesses. We're putting in actual human thought. We're connecting the consumer psychology and the ad metrics, and we're doing it that way rather than you know setting up automation and just hoping that they don't churn. It's a very stressful way to run a business anyway, to do it
I
that
know,
way.
but any agencies I've spoken with, smaller, bigger one, I haven't heard one that's good
Mm.
that's running fully automated PPC and anything else. As you know, advertising, there's so many moving parts. Like something, their
Yeah.
softwares, as you said, rule based. Yeah, I like that. Rule based makes sense. And again, you need to check it all the time because it changes so
Oh
much.
yeah.
I mean, market conditions can change, and PPC is only one part. As you know, you have the creative, the listing, the conversion rate. There, like what I always try to say to brands is that ads are just one part. You need to make sure that everything
Hmm.
else works because if ads is really bringing traffic for the right keywords. That's it, nothing else. To make sure you're seen. The conversion part is not down to the ads. You can be the best PPC guy in the world. If my listing is bad,
Hmm.
overpriced, bad reviews, good luck selling it.
No, I was going to say you completely hit the nail on the head, and I don't hear this very often. You know, I don't even call them sales anymore. I call them total conversions because
Oh,
if your conversion rate isn't optimized, then if you haven't optimized your listing, I talk a lot about people get so sick of me talking about the consumer psychology aspect of it, positioning. You know, if you don't get that right and you don't get the listing copy right, the design right, what all of your ads you're just
yeah,
I say it's like pouring water in a leaky bucket, like there's just
exactly.
water dripping out. And on the other side, if you improve your listing and you get it right, then your ads start to improve. And you know, like we had a really good experience recently where we're selling a product. It's because of stock issues,
Yeah.
we're a bestseller in our niche. We've had to sell a much more expensive version of the product because
Mhm.
they just don't have the lower price variation of it. And we just got we basically 30-40 pound over everybody else. We're just getting smashed. And
Yeah.
we just sat down and we thought, okay, how are we positioning this? We went through the entire listing and we changed all of the wording purely to focus on the question that the consumer is probably asking, which is this looks great. Why is it worth £30 more? And that was the question in our mind as we went through the entire copy. We explained all why it's better. Yes, this is more, but you're getting more for your money. And lo and behold, our return on ad spend went up and our click-through rate went up and everything went up without even touching the ads, which I found really interesting. Yeah.
It does happen more often than not. I think
Mm.
I prefer having an amazing listing and product and average ad strategy rather than the other way around. Because
Yeah.
I do think people overcomplicate PPC. It's not easy. Don't get me wrong, it's not easy. You know that. But it's not as complicated. What I hate is when YouTube videos go into so deep of you should do this, you should do that. You don't need all of that. Like stick to the
Mm.
basics. You don't need 10,000 campaigns
Yeah.
per listing. Like you're overkilling it. Look at the best sellers and performers on Amazon. Look at them. Do you think they're
Mm.
doing 25,000 different campaigns? They're not. It's just better product, better reviews,
No.
better listings, and better ads, and better branding, of course, many
Yeah.
times.
You just need to use your common sense with Amazon. We so complicate it in this industry. It's like at the end of the day, there are a keyword someone puts in, they're shown 10 options. Is your one the best option? And if they buy it, they buy it. And the ads are just showing it to them. I mean, really, it's that simple. It's actually funny. I won't name any names. We did an audit for an Indian company. They're actually a group last week. Huge, the biggest client we've ever seen. I mean, in the billions market cap. We sat in this audit, and they for an hour, their board, their ads team, my ads team, were debating the ads, and I mean, they got into the minutiae of ads. They were starting to talk about hourly bid alterations, softwares that changed the bids on an hourly basis. They had 1,000 campaigns. Not one person talked about their listing.
Yeah.
And I went on their listing and I was like, guys, there's spelling mistakes here. We're spending 10 hours and 10 minds, great minds, clever people, looking at these ads and going down in these expensive softwares to hourly bids. You haven't even corrected the listing yet. It's like it is bonkers, but this is the industry.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's a very. I mean, I do understand brands. Look, brands. Amazon is so specific that it's very difficult to, unless you specialize. It's very difficult to understand it, in my opinion. It's because it's different. It's different
Yeah.
in Google. For even if Google PPC is similar, you don't have the organic element the way you have on Amazon. The fact that on Amazon you have the
Yeah.
ACOS and then you have the tacos as well. Like most people, that's one other thing that I'm very contrarian again is ACOS is a okay metric, but all I care about, are we
Mm.
more profitable than we were? Is my tacos lower or not? And as you know, if your
Yeah.
tacos is too low, you're losing sales probably. If it's too high, you're not profitable. So
Hmm.
there's so that's why when someone asks me a question about what's the right thing, it's so difficult to say it because it's so situation based. If your brand wants to be super aggressive, you're probably going to lose some profit. There's no way around that, right? Whatever you do, if you're super aggressive
Yeah.
at the beginning, you're going to lose some profit. If you want to optimize for profit,
Hmm.
you're probably going to lose a bit of sales in the long term. Like there are things that happen. Now, in a perfect world, you increase sales significantly and you increase profit significantly and you decrease tacos. But it's so everything is
Yeah.
situational. Every brand is different. Every category is different. Some brands, as you know, are much easier to work with. Some are more difficult. Like it's very difficult to save a
Mm.
bad product because a bad product will be found out in the long term. That's why I think when you're an
Yeah.
agent, you need to be very careful in selecting who you work with. Because if you work with everyone, however good you are, you can't help everyone. That unfortunately,
Yeah. And actually, we've made that mistake.
I
Well,
think
one
everyone
thing
has.
we do a lot of. Yeah, yeah, we continue to make it, if I'm honest. So what a lot of what we do is not just growing Amazon brands. We launch DTC brands onto Amazon. And one thing I've noticed, I mean, so there is a ton of brands out there making ridiculous money. You wouldn't believe, with products that are not necessarily something that customers actually enjoy.
Mhm.
And we're seeing, and why so many brands are coming to us now is because of this halo effect, right? You're doing your Facebook ads, you're doing 100, some of these products are doing 100K per day. And then obviously there's a ton of search volume that comes
Yeah.
onto Amazon and they want to tap into that. The reason why I believe that's increasing is because Amazon is the last bastion of reliable reviews. And people know that. People are starting to cotton on to the fact that website reviews are BS. Trustpilot
Mhm.
is BS. I mean, it
Yes.
is actually BS. I mean, we're working with so many companies. You can get people to change their reviews. You can call them
Easily.
up and refund if you change it. There's lots you can do, but on Amazon, all right, you can, the people buy 5 stars, but you can't get rid of 1 stars, and there's a few things you can do, but ultimately, if you have a bad product, people are going to know about it, and people know that. And that's why I think they're coming onto Amazon to purchase, as well as obviously you can refund and that kind of stuff. So it's bringing a lot of brands onto Amazon. But if your product isn't okay, I mean, you're screwed. And obviously, with
Yeah.
Amazon introducing these frequently returned badges as well, I mean, they can be a just the end of a brand as well.
Oh, we
Yeah.
recently experienced this. I mean, one of our clients got a frequently returned batch, and his conversion rate went from 25 to 5%. You know, like what's happening? And I was speaking with the team. I was like, check
Ooh.
something is wrong. It cannot You cannot have that drop unless there's a
Yeah.
big reason. And it was a frequently returned batch. But look,
Mm.
that's why I think people trust Amazon because Amazon. You know, if you buy something from Amazon, if it goes wrong, no question asked, you get refund. To the point that people are abusing the system,
Yeah.
you can scam it. Like, as you know, you open an A to Z claim, even if there's proof of delivery, they'll still refund you. But that's the reason Amazon is so successful, because they're
Yeah.
crazy about over delivering to the customers. I mean, conversion rates on the
Yeah.
website are horrible compared to Amazon, and that's why. And
Yeah.
and look, Amazon is not easy. No business is easy, and no business will ever be easy. And if it's easy now, it will get difficult later on, because it's just maturity of business. The
Yeah.
best will always win. That's always the case. It's like in sports, right? But I do believe that if not, I believe, I'm sure, because of data, if you do well on your website, go on Amazon. You're not going to lose your customers. Believe me, because you know the theory of
Yeah.
customers on
Yeah.
Amazon will be taken away from Shopify. They're completely different. Like I've seen
Yeah.
brands, we've worked with brands who do extremely well on Shopify and then do extremely well on Amazon and actually grow to both platforms. So as you said, it's a flywheel
Yeah.
effect. Now, if you add TikTok Shop to that as well, it's even more. They're almost different customers.
Hmm.
And remember, being on Amazon, as you very well know, gives you extra credibility, because if they see your brand on Amazon, they feel like, okay,
Yeah.
this brand is really legit. And most people don't even understand
Hmm.
what's the process. The customer doesn't understand the process of you going onto Amazon. Like, they don't think everyone can. Many people think that to go on Amazon, you need to be a special brand, similar to retail. Question for you, right?
Yeah.
What is, with all these business you have right now, you have two brands, you have the agency. What are you enjoying the most, and where is your priority? What do you want to do in the long term?
Yeah. So right now the priority is the agency. So definitely the priority is the agency right now. It's I'm finding it just really enjoyable. It was a new challenge for me because I've run lots of businesses before, but it's entirely different. The brands built this knowledge. I mean, when you're a brand owner, you've got money, you've got investors, you're in the trenches. There's no running away. You learn quick. So I
Yeah.
learned these skills, which have made me good at the agency. But the agency is what I want to do. But the agency, I mean, if I'm looking far into the future, the agency is basically like a vehicle to grow, to build a team that can, work on Amazon, but then also to invest that money into building brands.
Exactly.
And that money that is left over for tax purposes and
Yeah.
for other things, we want to build brands. I mean, we're always, you mentioned at the beginning, you're constantly learning when you're running an agency. And I'm seeing brands as well that I'm working with. And, whilst doing keyword research and stuff, I'm thinking, oh, that's a good opportunity. You're looking at their niches
Yeah.
and you're seeing random things. Like, I never thought about owning a supplement, for example.
Yeah.
And then just by working with lots of supplement brands, I know it's very
Now you
competitive.
you want to
It's just been
own.
in the back of my head. Like, I want to own a. I mean, inevitably, I want to start brands, but that's going to come in the future. If I look into the future, it's a really solid agency, has a team that can operate without me, and I'll be an owner at the top. I think, building a personal brand is going to be very important. And then I want to be acquiring and growing brands as well within eCatalyst as one thing. That's the ultimate goal. Yeah.
Well, I love the way. I mean, I have a very similar thought on on things to do. And as you know, we're getting so much data from what works, what doesn't. And for me,
Mm.
it's a no-brainer, especially once you get an agency at a great level, whatever that level is for you, 100,000 a month, a million a month, whatever
Hmm.
that is, and you have a lot of cash flow coming. Not only for tax purposes, you can invest, which makes sense,
Yeah.
but it does make sense to get brands, either buy them, buy existing ones that already have a supply chain. I think it's easier to a certain extent, and just
Yeah.
improve them. And I'm sure you've seen, I mean, we've had brands in the supplement niches that went from 0 to 50,000 in 3 months, 10 to 15,000 in profit, which is crazy from someone who never sold. Like, yes, for big business, that's not a big number
Yeah.
for, but for someone who never sold a product, doesn't have any Amazon experience, to be able to do that, it's in such a short time, it's crazy. Now, if you have experience and you get a brand to 1 million a month, profitable, and you have the right partners that know how to
Yeah.
structure an exit, it becomes, you can definitely create an ecom group for brands that is very interesting. And if you're an agency owner, it gives you so much more credibility. Like, this is my brand. Yeah. This.
Yeah, I mean that I've seen some crazy things. I won't name any names, but I saw two guys who started a supplement brand. I think within 8 months they were doing on Amazon. We were working with them 600 to 700,000 a month, and smashing it. With DTC brands, we
Yeah.
we launched one yesterday. We did 10,000 the first day.
Wow.
Like it's I mean, this is the crazy thing when it comes to the halo effect.
Yeah.
I really just I think some DTC brands don't fully understand if it the Amazon. Most people think, oh, there's all these fees on Amazon. Amazon's far more profitable than their website.
Oh
Far
yeah.
more profitable because they've run these ads.
Yeah.
These guys that are coming and searching, like lots of the brands we launch, there's 10,000 up to 50,000 searches for their brand every month, like an actual keyword search volume. These people are, anyone on Amazon has high buyer's intent, but if they're
Yeah.
searching for a brand, they're literally coming to buy.
Oh, it's
So
a shoe
we
in. Yeah.
just place it there to shoe in. And do you know what? It's not the whole launch is just you before we've even launched the product, we're already ranked #1 for all of those because we
Yeah.
are the brand and we have
Yeah.
brand registry. So boom, we're straight there before we've even checked in. We can't even check in stock. We're selling so fast, and that's what happens with these brands, and it's highly profitable because we're advertising to get to one, but then we're pulling back and letting those organic sales happen, and they've already paid for that. They've already convinced the customer over there. So it tends to be highly profitable, even with Amazon fees. So
Agree.
yeah, it's very beneficial for these brands. In terms of people starting, the supplement niche is a great one. Like I can't go into specifics, but gummies, that's
Yeah.
a good niche
Yeah.
right now. But there's always something like that. There's always it's gummies one day, then it's I don't know what it will be. It'll be in mushrooms, or something. And you see these people who have invested just a bit, but they've made it look good. And like you say, within a few months, they're doing crazy volume.
Yeah.
And especially if you can get lots of these products manufactured in the UK now, which
Oh yeah.
if you're in the UK or in the US
Yeah.
and it's actually starting to make more sense than actually
Yeah.
importing from China.
Especially
And when you
with
do, and
issues from
that's
China.
yeah.
Yeah, because I mean,
I'm actually looking at that now. I'm actually looking at manufacturing in England for the first time ever in my life,
it's very price
because there's some
sensitive. It's
major
not
perks
that.
to it. Yeah. I actually find that I'm actually finding it cheaper in England when you take out the logistics.
Yeah.
And what's amazing is you don't have to buy in such bulk either because I can
Yeah.
get them manufactured and sent to Amazon in 3 days. So actually, in that sense, I'm actually investing less. So something people should look into because there are actually a growing number of facilities in mainly Manchester for some reason where
Yeah.
you can create supplements. Yeah.
And the made in UK thing, I think now more than ever will do better. You can justify to charge more. Like supplement, as you know, it's not a niche that's super price sensitive because it's with health, so
Mm.
people are willing to spend more.
Yeah.
But if you're made in the
Yeah.
UK, because as you know, most of the brands and supplements are China. Like a majority of them are Chinese. Like
Hmm.
people get surprised, but that's the truth. So if you're a guy, if you know how to advertise it and push it in your listing in your
Yeah.
creative, and you know how to advertise the UK, made in Europe, it's very big. Made in Europe is also very big. I mean, we have clients who have their
Yeah.
own labs that they create their own supplements in there. I mean, and that's why I always tell them it's so. And a lot of these brands don't realize how rare this is because most people just get the product from
Yeah.
China, stick the label, and put it on Amazon, and you can make sales that way. But if you have your own
Yeah.
manufacturing facility or you get it from the UK, like your advantage is huge.
Mm. And do you know what's so funny? I worked with a few supplement companies who are manufacturing in the UK and they didn't even put it anywhere on their listing. And I'm like,
Yeah,
what are you doing? That is your major selling point. When it comes to supplements, like I keep going back to the consumer psychology. Like on LinkedIn, I was talking about pain. When it comes to supplements, one thing I found really interesting is actually a higher price point can change the consumer's perception of quality. And
100.
when they're buying certain supplements, they will actually sometimes look for a higher priced one. I mean, if you're buying collagen tablets and one of them's 9.99, which is a bad example because the bestseller is 9.99,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then another's 16.99,
yeah,
if through your copy you are applying that, first of all, you're fully tested, and you're more reliable, would somebody rather spend £10 on something that might not even be fully collagen and work, or would you rather spend a bit more on something that's actually going to achieve your goal or whatever it is you want better hair or whatever? So I think it's all about positioning with supplements. The manufactured in UK things are killer, but also when it comes to supplements, and this is from horror stories people we worked with, testing is crucial.
So you've worked with brands from every size, right? And I'm curious, the biggest brands you've seen, what difference have you seen between the biggest boys you've worked with compared to the smaller ones that are struggling?
Yeah, so the biggest brands that we work with, one thing is in common for all of them, and that is external traffic coming on to Amazon to buy their product. That is the game changer. I feel like that's the difference between the highly profitable brands and the non-highly profitable brands. You know, there's external traffic coming on. Amazon loves that for a start, and it boosts organic ranking. And then it's obviously it's highly converting. It's a great return on ad spend, and that doesn't mean you have to have external website that's really pumping. But I do think what I see from the brands that are the most successful, we work with one of the biggest pet supplement brands. I think they're in the top five biggest Amazon UK
Wow.
brands, and their tacos is amazing. I mean, and it's funny because first of all, they have external traffic coming on. So they're that full e-commerce picture, where they're
Mhm.
everywhere, and that's bringing on, search traffic. But I think also what it is they have this ad spend budget, whereas they're spending enough so that they are number one for all organic ranks, and
Yeah.
then being number one all organic ranks is raising their revenue, and then it's bringing down their tacos. So it's almost like they have done the job of spending and building that rank. I mean, they're number one everywhere. We could turn off the ads with some of these brands, and we would probably continue to do 70% of revenue. Like with these biggest brands, we're not even looking. We don't even report how our ads are doing anymore to them. They don't care. What they want to know is how the business is doing as a whole.
Yeah.
If we just say, for example, I'm thinking of our best and most profitable business. Our return on ad spend, their ads is 2 on a good day,
I
and
love that.
and and that's 2. But our tacos is super low.
I
So
need to clip this.
what
Yeah.
we're doing with the ads, first of all, yeah, some of our low, and we have other brands where we're doing 5 or 6 ad return on
Yeah.
ad spend, but overall we're not doing as good. So
Yeah.
really, it comes down to it when you're that size, it's a lot of defense, and it's also we're not going for vanity metrics.
Mhm.
If they were asking us to look to report our ads, how our ads are doing every day, we would be forced to be going after their brand search terms all the time,
Mhm.
because that's a
Yeah.
great return on ad spend. But
Exactly.
why do I want to steal an organic sale
Mhm.
with a paid sale? If I can, I want that. I want someone to search their brand and buy it through an organic
Exactly.
placement if I can. So that's why they're very good in that sense. So they look at the business as a whole. We look at true roasts and
Mhm.
tacos.
Yeah.
Our ads are there to serve a purpose, and there to, if we need to boost organic ranking, we will. They're there to defend organic ranking. They're there for conquest campaigns. They're there for, listing defense. We really split our all of our products into different life cycles. And when we're in the harvest life cycle, which they are, it's all about defending, conquesting, building. But it's I would say, just to answer your question, it's external traffic, and it's the ad spend, which over an accumulated amount of time means that their organic ranking is so good, because at the end of the day, the key to Amazon is organic sales, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
100%. That's where the profit is made. Look, but this is a
Yeah.
very good point. Like everything you say is a very, very good point. First, the fact that your best performing brand, on average, they're doing 2 ROAS or 50 ACOS proves the point how
Yeah.
pointless ACOS and ROAS are on Amazon, because it doesn't show
Mm.
you anything really. And especially, as you know, sometimes you have to push and make sure that. I mean, I had conversation with many brands. They're like, "Oh, our ACOS is up, our ROAS is really down. So are we performing bad?" I said, "These are your total figures. You made 5K, £10,000 more profit. You're more profitable overall because now your tacos is lower." So I agree. I think most, and Amazon is difficult, right? Because it's very different than meta ads. Because meta ads, your ROAS is your profit to a certain extent. You don't have that organic element. So I understand that it's very different from Shopify. But it's a very
Mm.
an amazing example as you did. You can perform extremely well with the super high ROAS and ACOS as long as the important
Hmm.
metrics like tacos and profit are there. Because that's very important, right? Because if your ACOS is 50% and your tacos is
Yeah.
40%, you're in trouble, right? Unless your margin is 80%, which is unheard of course. But
Yeah.
it's it's all of that. I agree, and I think what I've seen that agencies can really improve is giving actual true stats, not just the ad performance, total business performance.
Hmm.
Are you getting more customers in? Is your market share increasing? Are you more profitable overall? How's your
Yeah.
profit and loss looking? Like actual important metrics, because sales is such. sales is just one metric. Acres is just one metric. Are we more profitable? Are we getting bigger?
Yeah.
Are we getting more established? At least that's what I like to see for my brands and for brands we work with.
Yeah.
Now, another question is, okay, so you said that the best brands you guys work with are the ones that already have a traffic outside. But what about the ones that are Amazon native and are just Amazon? What have you seen them doing differently?
Yeah. So, well, I mean, first of all, it's a great main image. Like, if I was to really pick apart the difference between a seven-figure brand and an eight-figure brand, I mean, that if you look up Mudwater as MUDWTR, shout out to Mudwater. I mean, you look at their main image. I mean, it's a thing of for someone in Amazon, it's a thing of beauty. And that is the most key thing. I mean, we talked earlier about just really just bringing common sense into this. You are Amazon is a supermarket, and we're all
Yeah,
just items on a shelf. And if you can make yourself stand out and stop the scroll, then
yeah,
you're in for a win. I mean, I think the best brands who are Amazon native really think about click through rate and conversion rate. And by
agree.
click through rate, I mean the most important thing is a beautiful main image, something that stops the scroll. And that's not just beautiful, that's something that's different from other products. It
Exactly.
could even be turning it to the side, could be
Yeah,
putting a keyword on it, whatever. And then obviously reviews that you have to have. I mean, we've all talked about products with bad reviews. That click through rate, in my mind, it's a title, it's the main
yeah,
image, it's coupons, it's all that, it's badges, it's reviews. You get that click, amazing. Then you
yeah,
need to get the conversion. And the best brands that are native, that don't have that external traffic, they are purely doing that the right way. And then it comes
totally.
with positioning when you're on the listing. And
Yeah.
then, like you said before,
Hmm.
ads are super important. Whenever I say that, put down ad metrics or whatever, I get like 100 people, like "Wah, wah, wah, wah." Everyone gets angry. But ads are super important, but they're not as important, in my opinion, as your listing. So I
100.
think that a great brand is what they're doing. They have a great main image, and they're really appealing to the customer, and then your ads will flow. Yeah.
I agree. I agree. I always say that main image, because the reason main image is so important because it's what they see. Very few people get even to the A plus content. Most people don't even look at the bullet points, let alone the description. So
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
thing. That's why I always say, instead of looking at YouTube videos and LinkedIn posts, which most of them are just regurgitated stuff, actually, how do you
Yeah.
shop as a customer when you buy an item on Amazon? How do you shop? Usually it's reviews,
Yeah.
price, main image. If you like it and people say it's good, you buy it because you trust Amazon that
Yeah.
much. Like if and that's
Yeah.
another thing. I think A plus content, for example, great to have it, but definitely not a game changer. I'm yet to see a brand that
Yeah.
was struggling, puts A plus content on, and their business has changed overnight. I'm yet to see that. Maybe it happens, but everyone I've worked with, A
Yeah.
plus content is definitely not the game changer. Main image, get that
Yeah.
right. I mean, I've seen brands with a main image and another two images and do extremely well.
Yeah.
Not even having all the image stack, video,
It's true.
even with that, they do better than average main image. And as you said, it's not about just having a great main image, it's something to stand out. It's the art of merchandising because you can get the best designer in the
Yeah.
world to create an amazing image that won't convert on Amazon because they don't know how to merchandise. And merchandising really
Yeah.
means is setting up an image to sell to the customer, either to psychology or to the way it's positioned. Something Sometimes it can be even a simple thing of, if you're selling tablets, supplements tablets, put a tag or put the 30 or put something
Yeah.
that stands out and explains it. The more you can explain in an image, the better it looks, the better you convert, usually. And as you know, if you convert
Yeah.
better, ads will always be more profitable. Like it's mathematically.
Yeah, the ads are a byproduct of the listing, and I think too much we see them as the first thing. They're not. I mean, we could do an experiment where we set up an ad and we just change the listing and we see how the ad changes in terms of return on ad spend. I think it's to the ones that are killing it that get to eight figure. They're doing something that we call was it's called Kaizen. It's the Japanese art of continuous improvement, right?
I
So
like
it's
that.
A/B testing.
Yeah.
It's continually getting better. It's a great main image, but also in the context of your market.
Yeah.
So, if you're in a market where everybody has amazing main images, then your main image needs to be great, but it's not going to help you stand out as much as if you're in a market where everyone's a bit trash. And then it's also, how's your price point in context to the rest of your market? And then there are all the little things, like everything adds a couple of percent. If you improve by 1% every day, it makes a difference. The best ones have a great main image. They understand their market. If they're on the higher end as a price point, then they're answering that question that customers have. Why is this more expensive? Because they will click you. They'll,
Mhm.
if you look good, they'll click.
Yeah,
Then their question in their mind is, why does this cost more? So that needs to be answered. You need to really
exactly.
tap into the improvements, and then the brand story, that can help.
Yeah,
Premium A plus, I find with video and
yeah.
UGC can have a big difference and make a
Mhm.
big have a big effect on conversion. And then it's just the total package and its reviews.
Mhm.
And if you get that right, human beings are so predictable. If one person sees it and it appeals to them, it's probably going to appeal to others. And once you've got that, if you have good review planning and you manage to keep high reviews, and then that's when the ads come in. You've got all that, you've patched up the leaky bucket, then you pour the water in without any leaks, and that's when you can really grow. Obviously, you want to be running ads anyway, but I think to apply a massive budget to something that's just got massive holes in
Yeah.
it, you are throwing money down the drain.
Agreed.
That's my
Well,
opinion.
that's why every client we ever work with or on board, the first thing we touch is not ads. The first thing we touch is always the listing. Make sure that that's top notch,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
many times, because I'm sure you get custom brands that come to you to say my ads are not working. Well, it's rarely the ad strategy. It's rare. Yes, I've seen bad ad
Yeah.
strategy, but it's rarely just the ad strategy, because let doing keyword research is not difficult. People make it to be difficult. It's not difficult.
Yeah.
You can use softwares. If you really want to do it, you can even do it manually. Like you can, like, and a lot of it is logic. Like if you're selling a
Yeah.
watch, you probably should have a keyword that says watch, and then of course the long tail keywords, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But PPC, it's of course it's not
Yeah.
easy because there's a lot of maintenance to it. As you know, like you cannot put a campaign now and check it in a month. Like you have to always be there. The bid strategy, if it's too high, it's a
Yeah.
problem. If it's too low, nobody sees it. There's a lot of nuances to that, right? And I almost think to a certain extent that bidding sometimes is more difficult than everything else. Getting the right bid and making sure you're competitive with the bids and how you structure
Yeah.
that. Sometimes,
Yeah.
sometimes it's more
Got the cat on
difficult.
here. Yeah.
Lovely tale.
Yeah.
I think sometimes that's a bit more difficult and work intensive than just the keyword research. I mean, that's what I've seen at least.
No, no, I totally agree. I mean, like you said, you could just put set an ad up. So I literally got a cat in my face. This is the cat that made me start the brand. But yeah, you could just shove up. I mean, do you know what? With my own brand, with my clients,
Yeah,
we go so deep into it. With my own brands, I start so simply with my launches. I mean, I really do. My whole philosophy is I pick one or because I obviously have a limited ad budget. I
yeah,
start with one or two hyper relevant keywords and I just go for them. And normally just exact match,
yeah,
normally just up and down. It's
yeah,
not. This is my own brand, so I want it to work. So it's like it's not massively crazy. What's important is making sure the listing is right, and then I get an idea very early on about whether it's working or not. But I think it gets way more complicated when you get up to the much bigger brands where now you're in AMC and all of these other things. And that can get more difficult. And I think like that brand I was talking about, where we have an average 2 ROAS.
yeah,
It's we're doing so much detailed things, and it's funny because that in the way that when people hear that they'll probably be shocked, but you can bear in mind just for as an example, yesterday, let me think of another brand. So another brand where we have a 2 ROAS, we spent yesterday 3 grand, and
hmm,
in ad sales we probably made about 3.2 grand. So
hmm,
it's no, maybe about 5 or 6. So you would think that's terrible, but our revenue was 36,000.
yeah.
So we spent
Exactly.
3,000, did 36,000 in
Exactly.
revenue. When you look at it in that context,
It's
in
amazing.
traditional return on ad spend, yeah, that's like a 12 ROAS.
Yeah,
That's if you're looking at how a
yeah,
DTC person would do it. So that comes with maturity, because what we've actually been doing is pulling down ad spend with these clients, and that could be scary sometimes, but we're going for maximum profitability,
yeah.
and lots of the ad spend is wasted. One thing we do notice with big clients we take over is we do decannibalization projects. That's a
Yeah.
big thing we do. So when we take over brands, that nearly every single time to inflate their metrics, the agency's been bidding on, say, their brand key terms again and again and again. Amazon is an auction, And Amazon doesn't care if you're bidding or your competitors bidding. If
Exactly.
you have, and we with this brand, we took over 100. They were had 100 of this same brand term that they were bidding out. So if you just thought of it as a room, someone's saying 30p and then they're going 35, 40, 45, 50, and they're inflating it to over £10. We
Yes.
just pulled that down, and it turns out they were the ones bidding up their bids more than any of their competitors, and actually their competitors weren't even bidding because they couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
So we managed to reduce their bids by a ridiculous amount, and that's
Oh,
something we do a lot.
that's a very good technical part. Probably most people won't understand it. I'll try to simplify it. You explained it very, very well. But I think sometimes we think it's a given, like when we say this.
Yeah,
But I agree 100% because a lot of brands run brand defense campaigns. Basically, if your brand is Coca-Cola, you're defending that keyword, you're defending that product. So you can do it
yeah,
with product targeting and you can do it with keywords, right? And as you said, if you're running 100 of them, you're making it so expensive when it shouldn't be because there's no reason for it. And let's not, yes, they have one of the best ACOS and ROAS, but you never have the most sales from them
mm,
because unless you're
yeah,
Coca-Cola that people really buy for that, you're not going to get most of your
mm,
search volume from there, at least for not established brands. So I agree 100% with
yeah,
that. And as you said, it's if a client comes to you and tells you I want my ACOS to be low, that's super easy to achieve. Having a low ACOS is very easy.
yeah.
What is very difficult is have great sales and be very profitable. That's why I think it's the difficult part. So and as you said, some of the less experienced agencies they want to listen to clients and say, okay, they're really looking at ACOS, so let's lower it. But many times low ACOS means very low sales as well, especially if you're doing the brand defense stuff. I mean, brand defense is a cheat code because you're
Yeah.
already bidding on your brand. So your brand is obviously going to convert better if someone is searching for it. What is the biggest, I don't want any names, but what's the biggest brand you're working with right now? What kind of revenue and profits you're doing? And of course, both power figures.
So probably about on Amazon. So as probably about 1 million a month on Amazon. But
Mm-hmm.
in terms of how much they do as a brand, most of these guys are doing like 7 to 10 million a month. So
Wow.
Amazon is a smaller part of their business. Some of these brands that we're launching, they're doing 7 or 8. I mean, you'd be surprised how many these guys are. I mean, these you would not believe some of the people we're talking to, how much money they make through Facebook ads. Like it's actually bonkers. You know, there are some of these guys only started a few, years ago, and they're doing 7 to 10 million a month. And then on Amazon, these are the ones where we launch them on Amazon and they hit their 10K days
Yeah.
almost within 2 or 3 days. So but on Amazon, probably about 1 million a month right now. Some of the brands we're working with, funny enough, are like really well-known brands,
Yeah.
but they're not doing much at all on Amazon.
Mhm.
For whatever reason. So we've only just started working with a few of those ones that are like well known in supermarkets and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But on Amazon, and this comes back to what you're saying, they have a tacos of about I don't even know. It's the most ridiculously good tacos you would ever have because they're not spending. So they've
Yeah.
literally not been spending. So they're doing say 100K a month with
Yeah.
zero ad spend. And then we're coming in and we're saying to them, look, we got to spend some money
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
and so yeah, I think the biggest brands we're working with are actually doing low revenue, and then some of those we're working with doing about 1 million a month. Those brands we're now looking to, we've kind of capped the UK or the US,
Yeah.
and then we're looking to get into Europe, and then the next step for us with there is moving around the world and expanding that
Mhm.
way.
Are you most of your clients located in the UK or it's really all over?
I would say a lot of them are in the US.
Yeah.
Some of our best clients are in the UK,
Yeah.
and then more so, we're getting lots of German clients right now.
Yeah.
Lots of clients that are doing very well in Germany, and the natural progression for me is to expand around the EU. I mean, it's
Of course.
great when you see a German brand who's just selling in Germany, and I'm just like, oh man, just pan EU is just such a quick
It's
way to
amazing.
expand
Yeah.
for them. And then, yeah, I normally like to come into the UK or into
Yeah.
the US after.
And Germany is so well located geographically because you have so many countries close to you that have big spending power. And Germany is bigger than the UK actually as an Amazon market. They're not that far away,
Yeah.
but Germany is actually the biggest in Europe. And how big is your team right
Yeah.
now? Like how many people are working with you?
Yeah, so there's only 8 of us, which is small. It is actually really small. So so there's 8 in our pod, but we're creating another pod
Yeah.
now. So it's a really small team, but we're building processes and systems, and we've got launching down right now. Like
Yeah.
we've just got it down, and we've got some great people. I would say they're a very high level team, though. I think that's part of it. One thing we've realized is, you can have 30 people, but if
Yes.
you've got a couple of people that have real knowledge and talent, they're fixed. Amazon is a thing. There's problems every day with Amazon. You know this. That you could be the most knowledgeable person in the world. There's always a problem. If you've
Yeah.
got someone with really real expertise, they're solving those problems in 10% of the time that another person would. So we're right now we find we're fine with capacity. Actually, we have capacity for more, but we are expanding all the time. Like we just hired someone this Monday, like probably our most advanced person yet, who's just changed everything. So yeah, we're probably going to be expanding soon, but that obviously, we don't know what's going to happen in the future. We're just now starting to go out and trying to bring in leads. Getting on LinkedIn. We're starting a few, campaigns, different kinds of things. So yeah, hopefully that they're all going to be successful.
And are you guys hiring from the UK, from Europe? How are you guys doing that?
I started off hiring in the Philippines,
Yeah.
and then I've hired some great people from India, hired some great people from Europe.
Yeah.
It really beneficial for me. I hired some ex-Amazon people actually. Um, so I'm not actually currently working with them. I've hired 2 or 3 ex-Amazon people
Wow.
just from experience. They are not as good as you would think they would be. You would think someone coming from Amazon would be really knowledgeable. They've actually told me we are not taught to build brands at Amazon. We're taught to spend money. So these are
Um,
guys that were, in ads teams on Amazon. They don't even know ads. I'm not being mean. Hopefully, none of them will see this, but they know how to increase your bids and increase your budget. That's what they're supposed to do. So we hired a few people in Germany because it's great to have the German language. And
of course.
now I've started hiring in the UK. I didn't, and then the US as well. I didn't want to hire in the UK because employment law is such a headache. We have
Yeah.
auto enrollment pensions, we have all of this stuff. It's a bit of a nightmare, but there is some great talent here.
Oh, 100%. And I agree 100% with you that having a team of 200 people that are not greatly paid, they're not great experts, I think it's a bigger headache. You're actually creating a bigger headache for yourself. I always think that 8 to 10 killers can outperform 50 to 100 bad fits. And it's easier to manage as
Yeah,
well. Because what happens is if you have so many people you're managing, and even if you have managers and supervisor, whatever you have, it almost becomes an HR business, and the results of the
yeah,
clients will suffer. Because if your business becomes HR, and a lot of the now you're thinking about, okay, I'm churning a lot of clients now because my service is down, but also churning a lot of people working for me. It becomes very, very difficult, especially now with AI and
yeah.
automations. You can definitely, and I've always think this has been the truth. A smaller but better team always beats a bigger team.
Yeah, I was actually reading an article about a few guys who I think it was a team of 4 who brought their Amazon business to. I was crazy numbers. I don't even know what it was. They did like 700, they 700 million a year. It's a massive business, and it's just a few guys. And all it really takes is expertise. The thing is about numbers and expertise. There's a famous thing. I can't remember what it is. It's somebody asked Henry Ford to basically correct a problem for them,
Yeah,
and he just came in and just put X on it and walked off. And then he billed them, and they said, how could you charge me 10,000
yeah,
for just putting an X on an engine? He said, I charge you $5 for writing the X,
yeah,
and 900 and whatever the hell it was thousand for knowing
yeah.
where to put the X. And I think that's kind of how I think about it. We're as a small team, some of these things we might be able to come up with an answer very, very quickly, but it's all that years of expertise that cost a lot of money. My
Of course.
expertise on Amazon has cost a lot of money, a lot of investors' money, a lot of my own money, throughout, Amazon University, as I call it, creating my brands. So yeah, I think a small team with great knowledge who have the time and capacity to have good conversations and build real strategy and talk like we are about every brand. I think it's the dream as a client or as a brand owner to have a team who actually care and actually putting the time and attention to build your business rather than just seeing you as a paycheck and just trying to do as little as they can to stop you churning.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it's No business is easy, right? Agency is definitely not easy, but I think if you put extra
Mm.
care for the client, especially if you think about their bottom line, their actual profit, because okay, you want to charge them whatever you charge them, but can they afford that? Can you actually just, for me, a good agency is an agency that can justify whatever they charge. Because if you come to me and
Yeah,
say, I'm going to charge you 10 grand, but I can bring you 100 grand extra, it's a pretty good deal. And I'm also getting a lot of my time
yeah,
back. So that's why I think bad agencies usually charge very little because they cannot
yeah,
justify.
yeah,
Of course, when you're starting out, is a bit different, right? You're trying to get business, but also, and this
yeah,
advice I always give for agency because we've been guilty of that. We've been guilty of undercharging, and I think everyone
yeah.
has
So
been in the
we,
beginning. But the key here is you
yeah,
need to think if a big brand comes to you and you quote them extremely low, how much do you reckon they're going to even trust you? Because they're getting
mm,
you never want to be the cheapest in the market, in my opinion, especially when it comes to service and especially when it
yeah,
comes to such a deep service, because there's a lot of work involved in here. And of course, we don't get paid by hour, we get paid by results and what we bring into the table. But if you want to attract
hmm,
great talent, if you want to attract good people, you need to pay them well. And because they already have opportunities where people are paying them well, because great talent, it's getting
yeah,
chased by other people as well. And I'm sure a lot of the brands at a certain
yeah,
they probably will try to poach them, which happens. But I agree completely with you. A small team of killers will always outperform a big team of
yeah.
average work.
And
Well,
who knows what's going to happen as we expand?
oh yeah, of course. I mean, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I don't know how many clients you have. Well, how many clients do you actually work with at the moment, approximately?
Oh, don't know the exact number, but it's a low number. I would say potentially about 10,
I
10
like it.
big clients. That's how we roll. So, if you think about it, 8 people with 10 clients with good processes, we are meeting and spending a massive amount of time on these clients. And we when we reach capacity, we don't take any more clients in.
I like it.
And some of these clients are historical clients as well. Most of these clients take real time care and attention. So we really can't take on that many. We just can't. We're building a second pod so we can. We
Yeah,
have a bit of capacity now, but if we find a client that we like we have recently, then we hire more people. And it's all about processes and systems. That's what it's all about. We could definitely do better, but it's about if everything's processed, then an 8-person team can do what a 20-person team can. Because
yeah.
when a new brand comes, we know the process of finding their brand key terms, of like doing keyword research, of setting up the campaigns. Everything's processed, so that bit is easy, and then
Yeah.
it's really coming up with a top level strategy.
See, great point there. And this is my opinion. It's been for the last so long. I think the more and the better and the best agencies, especially in the future, will be not only the PPC and the ads. That's given, right? Brands expect you to know that stuff, but it's the strategy that you can bring in and actually help their business as a whole. Like actually sitting down
Yeah,
with them and say, "This is the way we should structure this launch. This is why we're doing it, and this is how you can increase your profits." Even as you said, you had brands doing 100,000 a month with no ad spend. You go in there and saying, if we put 5K of ad spend, we can probably generate another 50 to 100K more profitably, right? And it's not so. I
yeah.
think strategy and understanding how the whole market works, especially for that product, it's what's going to be the most valuable. And of course, actually doing the execution.
Yeah, and I think what lots of these brands want is that professional feel. So, we'll do the research, then we'll present it properly to them. And, these are big businesses, they want to know what's going on. So, like, just for one of these high street brands, it's like, well, to have somebody actually presenting to them, they don't get that much from the Amazon space. There's a lot of like faceless people on the internet, it's all a bit dodgy and shady,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
we're all actual people, but they don't know that. So it's
yeah,
like putting a face to it and actually presenting, okay, this is our goal, this is our long-term strategy. Coming back to the ACOS thing, yeah, we might actually have, a really crappy return on ad spend for the next month, but there's a purpose, there's a strategy. We want to launch into these keywords. That's going to build our organic growth. Are you happy with break even or whatever it is in that
yeah.
particular circumstance till we can get to this place? So then we're organically placed here. So in the long run, we have a strategy for growth. Because I think lots of the time, it's just maintenance. And if you actually want to grow, you need a strategy, and then you need to be honest that it might require spend. It's very product dependent, I think, and
Yeah.
brand dependent.
And I think communication is such a big part of these brands. Like you have to communicate because, as you said,
Yeah.
sometimes they're happy to break even. but you don't know they're happy to break even
Yeah.
unless you actually ask them, because sometimes you might have to break even for
Yeah.
3 months and then crush it for the next 5. Matt, I've had a lot of fun on
Yeah.
this one. Love to speak with an expert, someone who really knows their stuff. Definitely need to keep in touch. London is a bit far from me. I'm in
Yeah.
Glasgow, but if I'm ever down there,
Oh,
I'll hit you up. And if you're ever up here, definitely hit me up. And yeah,
yeah.
I mean,
Definitely. Will do, man.
yeah, I'll put all your links on the YouTube. Probably will go out in the next couple of weeks. But yeah, I really enjoyed that.
Nice.
You're very, very knowledgeable. I'm very sure you're going to do extremely well. You are already, anyway.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate it. No, no, we've got a long way to go, but yeah, big goals, man. Like you as well. Definitely stay in touch, man. Message me anytime. Cheers.
Absolutely, man. Excellent. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.